microphones if you could.
You staying there, Dave? You staying there? I'm staying there. Yeah, I'll get there.
You're fine there. All right, we've only got one item on the agenda tonight. That's just basically informal discussion, I guess, about the Silo Ridge project and the comment memos we received from the consultants here just a couple days ago, actually. We're not at a point where we can really do a lot of discussion relating to the comments because we haven't had time to read everything and digest it properly and be able to speak on it. But what we do want to do is talk about the process we're going to utilize on addressing these memos. So, you know, Pedro, I guess if you want to come up to the podium and kind of do a little back and forth on this. The last time that we had comment submissions, the process was simply that you folks took those comments, charted them out per consultant, essentially, and then from those charts you noted what the comments were, and then you responded to the comments. Are you looking to use the same kind of format?
Is this working? Is it working?
Push the little white button.
So you want it red or?
Until it turns red, yeah.
Red is good? There you go.
Okay, great. One of the questions we had is we're not just addressing the town consultants' comments, but also the public comments, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So we thought that it might be easier for the public and as well, I think, the consultants to review if we group all the comments per sections. For example, if we're reviewing traffic, we can group all the comments and then provide answers to those questions, and then move forward based on each section: visual, traffic.
You're talking about grouping similar comments together.
Correct, and also into sections where we're addressing traffic impacts in one section, visual impacts in a separate section, and so forth.
I don't see a problem with that as long as we can have some way to make sure we're capturing all the comments and we aren't missing any.
We were going to number all the comments as well. So, and then have a backup sheet where you can see the comment memos with the numbers associated with them.
Okay. What kind of time frame are you looking at to get that accomplished?
The comment portion is not that lengthy. It's more the design process that we might have to do as per revisions on the plan. So right now, we don't know yet if it's going to take a week, 2 weeks, or a month.
Okay. All right. With that, there are a couple components that I know that you folks wanted to talk about, and I think the board needs to provide some direction on. Specifically, one being the issue of the hairpin corner.
Correct.
With Delaware and Hill. There were hedges proposed to be installed there, fencing proposed at one time. There's been different plans, different discussions that occurred there. So as a board, we need to start talking about what it is that the board's going to recommend or request that we put in there. I know in my discussions with people, people around town, the consensus seems to be that they'd like that area opened up as much as possible. And when I talk about the area being opened up, it's specifically from the top of Delaware and Hill as you're going into the corner, all the way around down to the what I call the triangle grove. There's a grove of trees that are shaped in a triangle that kind of follow the stream bed there, and also on the inside of the corner, actually a little bit further beyond that point, because once you go by those trees, the inside of the corner is cleared a little bit. You can also see in the direction of the town pretty openly. So my thought and my discussion with people has been that I'd like to see that whole area opened up as much as possible. To touch the grove of trees is impractical. It's too large, and that's been there for a long time. But the other trees, throughout the turn on the inside and out, have grown there over the last years, and they do impact on the view. And plus, a lot of them are dead anyways.
Yeah, we will need to get permission by DOT.
Yes. Yeah.
Because they're in the DOT right away.
But I know when we met with DOT going back about a month ago or whatever it was with you folks, and we all did the walk up there, the DOT seemed pretty open to having that done. They didn't seem to indicate they'd have a problem doing that at all. So
Correct.
As long as it was taken care of by your people, and they didn't have to worry about it.
Yeah, we just have to work out with them because some of the trees are next to the road, so we have to figure out from a procedure standpoint of view.
Yeah, you'd have to go through DOT and obviously get their
Correct.
blessing, their approval to go ahead and do whatever's proposed to be done. And that would be expected, but again, we need to make a determination as to what it is that we're going to be asking them to do.
I've heard a lot of comments through the community as well that that's a big concern, is to be able to open that up and have a view out of there. So, maybe a selective cutting on some of the trees, I think would be good.
Are there any particular trees in that area that you folks have talked about wanting to keep for any reason?
We would like to maintain the buffer area that we have from the southern portion of 44, but we're willing to, as a mitigation, help clear the upper portion of Delran Hill.
All right, so you're talking about the trees that were planted there in the last month and a half, 2 months.
Yeah, and in the old MDP as well as in the new MDP, there is a transitional forest that is supposed to go on the lower section. There's a tremendous amount of noise generated by tractor trailers and cars going down the hill, and the idea is to reduce a lot of the noise impact there. However, when you get up to the hairpin turn by Delran Hill, we wouldn't mind as a mitigation to help clear some of the trees that are up there that have grown and open up the views on the top.
Tony, Pete, Bill, anybody have any comments or concerns that you want to talk about relating to that?
Well, I mean, I was talking about, I think it's time for all of us to go and do a whole site visit. And that'd be part of it too. I would feel, just do the whole, forget about the maps
Everybody
and
in one
everything.
shot, not, because I've been up there, you've been up there. You talking about getting everybody up there
Yeah,
all in one shot, so we're all talking about the same thing, we're all
Right.
visualizing the same thing.
because it's a lot more easier to do a visual than it is with these maps anymore. We're at that point.
And David, my understanding is that to have everybody there, as long as they're not discussing, making decisions on any matters.
As long as you're not making decisions,
Right.
and, saying change this or do that, those kinds of things, you're there to gather facts and understand, what the site looks like, that's perfectly permissible.
I'm sorry. Okay. You have the portable or?
Yeah, sorry.
Okay. So, you don't need to repeat that.
Thank you.
All right. So, I know, Pedro, you've talked about that, Juan talked about it, so, I guess we probably should see about within the next week or so, trying to pull together a site visit with all planning board members. That view shed being one of the primary areas I'd want to look at, have everybody look at.
The houses,
Go right up to the hairpin.
all the
look
houses,
at
all
that.
the roads,
Yeah.
Steep
Fine.
slopes,
the
see
whole
exactly
thing. I
where
mean,
these
it's
homes are
that, we're
going,
at that stage where
that the
we could really
concerns
have,
are. Yeah.
we could put it together now with doing an actual physical visit.
Do you guys want to have anything staked out for the site visit as far as where some of the roads might be or some of the major buildings? And, I don't know whether or not that'd be a possibility. You have to talk to Pedro about that, but that may help you visualize,
Well, the one,
how
We
that's
actually
gonna
have a lot of that stuff staked out. So we have most of where the roads would be staked out and where some of the houses would be. So that was part of the design program, so you can actually see it when they're there.
I mean, I want to see, because some of the public comments were the steep slopes. I want to see exactly where this house is going to go.
Yep.
Is this as big a deal as it's been presented to? I want to see how high up is it actually going. So
Yep.
look at, and looking at it on these drawings is one thing. Actually seeing it.
Yeah, we're happy to do that. Actually, most of those where the roads are proposed are all logging trails, so we can actually drive very similar to where the roads would be.
Good.
The other thing, if you're going there, is I think you're going to want them to stake out where the forest they're going to plant is going to be, because that's the other thing in my memo I discussed, is right now you have those white pines, you see the long views through the valley under those white pines, but as the plans are now, there's a forest to be planted there, and I think when you go out there, it's not just what you're going to potentially clear, but I think somehow there needs to be a way for you all to realize what's proposed to be planted there now. And that was one of the policy decisions. And when you're up there, I would also ask you or suggest, as I did in my memo, that you look at the Artisans Park overlook, because there are trees proposed for there, and whether or not the planning board wants trees there. We talked about that in the meeting.
Yes.
So you should, it's not just it's also what's going to be installed on the landscaping that's very important that you all understand.
Right, and to follow up to that, I mean, one of the areas I was gonna ask that you could stake out would be the Artisan Park, where the entrance, the road cut would be basically. And what I'm looking at, and again, I want everybody here to kick in whatever they've got as far as these requests go. What I would want to do is have where the two, I guess it'd be the two southernmost points of the Artisan Park, where they would be located, so that we can get a good feel for what the view shed is gonna be, where it's gonna be from exactly, and what you're gonna be taking in, and a discussion about the elevation that the park is gonna be at once completed, to give us a good feel for what it is, we're actually gonna have there for product.
Yeah, we can do that. That's not staked, but we can have a stake prior to that.
Same with the wastewater treatment plant.
The wastewater treatment plant, that's something I want to talk about anyway a little bit tonight, because there were several comments made by the consultants related to the wastewater treatment plant. Let me get into that a little bit in a couple minutes.
Well, but I'm saying when we go to the site visit too, we could even look at that, because we're taking all the comments like Mike just said, but now we have a lot of comments from the public, and from this is a good time to really kind of do our own little visuals. Like we did with Smithfield, when we had to do that visual. It was the same, when we went up there, we took a little different approach than how it was presented to us. Because it was we actually visually seen it. It wasn't a city block looking, then we saw what it really actually was.
Now, the bottom line of the wastewater treatment plant is when you go by that location, it's very tough to see. Where you're going to see it is as you go around the corner. Other than that, it's pretty obscure. But going back to the Artisan Park real quick. When you talk about the plantings there, that's probably one of the more sensitive things I want to make sure we don't put plantings there that are going to end up jumping up over the next 10 years and end up blocking, preventing or impacting what we just did. We cleared inside the corner and outside of the corner to keep the view shed open, then we end up putting plants there or trees there, maples or whatever, that end up jumping up 30 foot. And
you can see underneath them, but you can't see.
Yep. That's understood.
So
Remember, that was a
Park,
draft landscaping plan that we needed direction from the planning board.
Well, again, that's my opinion. I'd like to hear what the other board members have to say about it.
Yep. We did prepare a plan which will be sent to the planning board. For some of the comments regarding the Artisan Park was how was it going to be subdivided, agreement, if we're deeding it to the town, how would it be the access agreement and so forth. So we want to provide a new plan, and we also need direction from the planning board as to how they would like us to proceed with those, whether we're offering a dedication, or I actually have some plans in there. Whether we're offering dedication, whether we need to meet with the town board regarding the Artisan Park, or a little bit understanding what the process is going to be.
Right, in the Artisan Park, the dedication, if that is dedicated, it's going to be a town board process. It's not a planning board process. So what I'm going to be doing, again, if everybody agrees with this, is I'm going to be approaching the individual members of the town board and discussing with them what their desires are, so we get some idea as to which way they would want to go with this. Do they want the park dedicated? Are we going to have an access agreement for Silo, or are we going to have a maintenance agreement with Silo as to how they're going to maintain it, and how it's going to be operated? And is the town board willing to accept this dedication of property from Silo?
And Norm, the way that the process would work is that when or if the board approves a subdivision plat, there'll be a note on it basically offering to dedicate that lot for the park to the town. And at that point, it's basically up to the town board as to whether or not they want to accept the dedication or not. So you're right, it's purely a town board process at that point, but there is some things that the planning board has to do to set that up.
Yep. All right, any further discussion about the Artisan Park?
So that's what this is.
Yes.
It's the Resort Community Overlook Dedication.
Right, and it's a couple different names. I always call it the Artisan Park, but they were going to be initially having access from the current driveway, and they're changing that now, correct?
Yeah, we're essentially, based on the comments we received, I think it's easier to stick with what was approved in the MDP, given that it's a lot easier to subdivide that lot. And
that would be a parcel dedicated to the town, turned over to the town. town giving ownership of it.
I mean, right now, the preliminary plat doesn't show the park on a separate lot, so that's got to be corrected, and that's what Pedro is showing here, is I think a preliminary schematic of what those lot lines might look like.
And it would have to be agreements written up, but again, we have to have the town essentially saying that they want to do that before we go forward with that kind of work.
And as we determine what day we're going to do this on, I just want to say Tuesdays, Fridays, and the weekends are best for me. There's a couple days that I can't do. So hopefully, whatever we decide will work for everybody.
Well, is Tuesday a good day for most people or not?
Tuesday's good.
This coming Tuesday?
I guess does that work?
This Tuesday I can do, yeah.
Okay.
Well, is that enough time for him to stake out some of the things we might want in? Do we want to give it another week so we can have time
Well,
to review some of this
if
stuff?
we've got everybody ready for Tuesday right now, I'd say let's shoot for it if we can. Pedro, does that work for you folks, or?
I'm checking. Yeah, it should be. Yeah, it should be good. So we'll make sure we stake out the only thing we haven't staked out is the Artisans Park.
Okay.
So the rest is all, every single road is staked out,
Okay.
where the houses will be located will be staked out, all those things we've staked out.
Okay.
What time works for you guys?
Let it warm up in the morning in case it's a cold day.
Yeah, after lunch.
1 o'clock?
It's fine.
3:30, 4 is better for me, but if you guys want 1 o'clock, whatever.
We're pretty open that day, so.
Well, we did a little bit later. Is that better for you?
3:34,
Yeah.
you said, yeah.
Yeah.
That's fine by me.
3 o'clock.
3:30, okay?
3:30.
I think I gotta finish his work day.
All right.
Uh-huh.
I like getting off work.
So we'll go for 3:30
Yeah.
on next
Okay,
Tuesday.
great. We don't need to have Dave with us, do we?
What's that?
We don't need to have Dave with us, right?
No. Are there any other areas in particular that you folks want to,
I think with regards to the comments, I think what, we would like to do is provide you with, provide the planning board with a draft layout of how we're grouping, how will we be proposing to group the comments, so that we can get some direction, make sure that that's okay, and we don't go grouping all the comments and structuring the whole document and then have to take it all apart.
well, imagine, aren't you going to use the same format you used last time? I mean, it's a little bit different presentation. You're not doing it by consultant, you're going to be doing it by groups of type of
Yeah, but
questions.
we're going to do it in Word. We're going to follow more, something that's a little bit easier to read. And essentially, we'll try to group, let's say if you have 5 different individuals who had the same comment, we'll state each individual's comment, and then we'll have one response for that. And then we'll move that way. That way, you don't have to be jumping around from person to person to get the same answer. And then we'll also structure it by category of impact. So whether it is, how we have table 4 that has all the impacts per category,
Yeah.
we'll try to structure all the comments per 4 by those categories as well.
How does that sit, everybody? Does that make sense? A consultant, yeah?
I think if we can get a workshop with a few of the consultants, there's a few comments that we need direction.
Well, again, I would say do what you've done in the past, or feel free to contact them individually by phone, or set up meetings if need be, yeah?
Okay.
And if you need members of the planning board, you want members of the planning board present, let us know, and I'll attend when I can, and everybody else certainly can too.
And I think if we can be in the next agenda as well, because I'm sure we'll have more questions for the planning board, as the planning board might have also more questions as they've had the ability to review some of the memos. I think, we will like that, so we can discuss, things as they come up. And we'll try to put, we'll try to submit some questions that we have as well, so we can review.
Okay. Are there any other particular areas of concern that you want a direction on from the planning board at this time?
I know we need.
And one of the things that I thought you may want to think about discussing is some of the town's consultants had brought up, whether or not it was beneficial to have the hedge along the hairpin turn, or to eliminate that in favor of maybe some landscaping closer to the buildings or something in that regard. So I don't know if that's something that Pedro needs direction on as far as the landscaping, or maybe he wants to present some alternatives But, you know, I thought that this might be an opportunity for you to provide some direction on that particular issue.
See, I thought that comment was more specific to the Route 22 and the maintenance building and so forth, no?
So there's several areas of landscaping where I was hoping the planning board would give some direction, which direction you'd like to go. Closing up the view on you heard Pedro say before that he wants denser vegetation down there to screen for the noise, and there's an issue that people want to be able to see through the valley further down under the pine trees, which are nicely framed. So I mean, there are things that need some, I think everybody needs some direction on some of this vegetation, because right now I think what we've seen is the vegetational screening that was laid out initially. I think a lot of it was to screen a very, very different type of development. We remember we had a 5-story hotel. It's very different now, and we're hearing much more. At least you've heard, and I sense a lot bigger issue in being able to see through the site down the valley. And I think that's something. That's a policy decision. The applicant, I'm sure, has certain areas they would like to screen internally from the site out. I think the screening at the Dutchess County Public Works Department is really, that's for the applicant more than for anyone else. That's to screen that. And this whole area in the lower part of Delaverne Hill, there are benefits to the applicant to screen part of it, and there are detriments to the public. And I think that's a balancing act. Right now you have a sense with those big pine trees that were installed, you have a sense of what it could look like with those big trees in there, and you can still see the valley. And if you could visualize the forest that's going to be planted there and reach a determination whether that's in the public's best interest to have that totally eliminated, or whether there's some middle ground, is if the applicant says they're concerned about views or noise, there could be some of that screening could be moved toward the actual buildings and still allow the public to be able to look down the valley. And one has to be mindful, this is not the Adirondacks, this is a viewscape that has always had human activity in it. I think it's not a pristine landscape in that sense, and houses and activity in there has always been part of that long view. But I think you have a situation where you may lose a good portion of that long view forever if in fact that forest is planted as is designed.
Okay. Is everybody familiar with what he's talking about?
Yeah, that's why I like to do a site visit, I mean personally, just to get a whole feel of all that. I mean, it's, to give direction, we could, but I mean, I'd rather just do an actual, when we go there Tuesday. Yeah, of course, because we heard enough comments, we heard, it's time for us just to go out there. And make our own determination of how it's going to look too.
All right, well,
as us as a board, just going over everything, because they keep on relaying back to it's up to you guys, which it is. But now it's time for us to go out there and, and actually do a visit. And he gave us 27 pages, 15 pages. So I mean, we have a lot of things to not only read and look at, but then we could actually apply it to what they're saying and what he's saying as an applicant.
Sure.
And I think it makes sense to do that.
But we're still gonna.
We've done it in the past with the previous thing, so just do it again. We did the balloon test. We did before we ended up doing a building. They built the building on that whole S-turn. So now it's just time for the new board members to actually go out and actually visually see what they're talking about.
Right. Well, I guess what we ought to do then is commit to taking a look at that with this site visit, and then having a discussion on it with the next meeting so that we can give direction on it.
Right. I think it's a lot better.
Because obviously we can't discuss that and come up with decisions at the site itself. So.
I think the other thing that you guys should consider when you're out on the site visit is, and George can speak to this issue better, but he had proposed some alternatives for people to think about regarding the homes that are proposed up on the steep slopes.
Oh, definitely.
In phase 2, and you got to take a look at that. You got to look at the slopes and look at the flat areas and the trees and those kinds of things, and get a sense as to whether you think that's going to work or not, and whether some of the alternatives might work or not. So I just figured I'd bring that up to you, and if anybody else has any other other consultants have any issues that you think the planning board should be looking at when they go on the site visit, feel free to
We
raise
could
them.
take a right to King Stud, we could take a right, do a visual from there. I mean, we could just do 2-3 hours of just looking at everything.
I think when you're out there, you also should look at the situation down by the proposed golf course maintenance facility, because I know, again, there's a requirement in the OC zone to screen it, and then, again, in our discussions, there was not wanting to screen it to the point where you'd end up
Blocking out the view.
blocking. So there's, the screening is,
Very
it's,
sensitive. Balancing
really,
act.
it's a balance act, and also the materials that are used, to whether you get, frankly, I mean, we're almost at a situation in places where, at least I professionally believe, you have too much screening. And it's also very expensive for the applicant. And some of that may be able to be moved around and have a more beneficial result, and maybe a savings. But you do need to look at the golf course maintenance facility and that view up through there.
Again, I think it's going to be important for everybody to read those comment memos before we go on that site visit and incorporate as much as we can as to what was said and, what are the questions we need to ask while we're out there and the impacts. Are there other particular issues that consultants want us to take a look at while we're out there in more detail?
I have one question. Would you want somebody like Julie to come with you as a resource in case you have questions?
Sorry.
Again, I said you want somebody like Julie to come with you who knows all the plants. She probably knows them better than anyone here as a resource in case you have questions.
I don't think we need her, but.
Okay. Oh, and I think people are saying they're going to take a look at it themselves.
Yep.
No offense, Julie.
No offense.
I think if Julie gets asked that, enough to jump in here and there, so. Any other issues from your end, Pedro, at this point?
I also think, if possible, we need for the planning board to consider and give us direction with regards to the wastewater treatment plant.
I think that we need more time to look at. And again, there was a lot of discussion in the memos about that. I know personally, and again, people give your own opinions here, there was talk about relocating it. I look at the location where it's proposed to be, and to me, that's the most hidden location there is in the entire site. You drive by there, the only time you can see within that location is as you're driving around that corner. On top of Delaware Hill, from down south on 22, you can't see that location. So it serves, in my perspective, a lot of benefits to having it in that location. There were questions about DEC guidelines, the guidelines, I'm not sure. I'd want to weigh in and give more thought to the write-ups.
Okay.
I feel the same. I think it's a good location.
When you go out there, then I would suggest at that spot to try to visualize the two basic options. One is to have it with the grading into NYSEG and back, NYSEG right-of-way and back into the forest, versus the alternative of using retaining walls that would actually protect more forest and actually screen by having it sink into the ground.
You're talking about grading further into NYSEG and...
No, I'm talking about I'm talking, right now we have grading into NYSEG and we have significant
okay.
grading
Right.
back up the slope. And there is an alternative that the consultants have discussed about putting retaining walls rather, that would also help
Right.
hide
Okay,
the
yeah.
plant and also save a lot of forest. So those are two, if you decide to leave it there are two different ways to leave it there. And if you could look at that, that would be helpful.
So I think the response there at this point, Pedro, is that we need to look at the comments some more, kind of, soak them in some more, and then when we do the site visit, take a good look at it, because I think that of all things, looking at that particular location is a lot more valuable than, a lot of discussion going on with it at this point. You've got to
Okay.
see that spot to really comprehend what it looks like. Anybody else? Any other comments, questions?
Oh, one comment we did have, this is to Julie Mangarillo. In your memo, you state that you're submitting it on a separate memo, your subdivision plat comments. Have you submitted those yet? Okay.
So among the consultants, we're still finishing up coordinating the comment, so it's in one document. So
Okay.
I'm thinking Friday or Monday, it should be sent out.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, there's been a lot of back and forth in the last few days between the comment memos and the design guidelines and the subdivision plans. Go ahead, Dave, you got it.
The other thing I wanted to let the board know about is that the consultants are also working on taking the proposed design guidelines that Silo had proposed and just adding some things to those and revising those. And so we're waiting for just, I think, one or two additional sets of comments on those, which we expect to have tomorrow. So we'll be sending those hopefully to you folks to consider and for Silo to consider sometime in the next couple of days. So that's another piece of the puzzle that's coming.
All right, so I guess in closing pretty much, we're not at the point yet to make a determination as the next day for the public hearing. We still got some information we need to get pulled together here and look at and give direction on, and then once we get completed with that, we'll make that determination, set up a date. It won't be before the next meeting, so we'll be able to discuss the next meeting some more.
I mean, just, my position on the public hearing is that there's been a lot of comments that have been submitted. They've all got to get addressed. The plan's got to get revised, and you got to have what basically amounts to sort of a final set before you send that out to the public. You don't want to be in a position where you send it out to the public hearing and then a whole bunch of changes occur after that.
Right.
So, there's a lot of work that needs to get done before you get to that point.
The other comment or question we have is from a procedural standpoint of view, when we're distributing information, what's the best avenue so that everybody's aware of all the papers that have been submitted, not submitted? Because I think sometimes some of the documents have not reached out all the individuals, so I want to make sure that what would be the best
I think what we need
way.
to do there, we need to have, I think, Juan get with Larissa and discuss how things are going to be submitted and how we track, making sure that they get put on the website, making sure that every consultant needs to get that material, gets the material on the planning board members and whoever needs to receive it. Because there have been some misses there in the past. They might not be on the website. People are calling, looking for this and that. And we need to develop some kind of tracking. So there's a lot of documents here being put out and then revamped and put out again. And we need to close that loop up. So I think if Juan and Larissa can get together and discuss the best approach for how to track this stuff, come up with some kind of checklist. Sometimes I know you send something to Larissa and she might not be, she thinks it's already been submitted to the consultants or it's been already put on the website, unless somebody tells her differently,
Or sometimes things are submitted to the consultants that I don't get.
that you don't get right.
That usually happens, but that's okay. I mean, we'll just figure it out.
Well, that's where we have to, we need to get some kind of system in place so we're not getting those misses, because that's where, whether it's the public or planning board members or the consultants, that we need to make sure that everybody that should be getting the information is getting it. We can't
At a
have
minimum, any document that gets submitted has got to go to Larissa, and then
Right.
you guys can figure out the protocol amongst, Larissa
Exactly.
and Silo as to then who it gets distributed to, but it has to go to the town first, and that would be Larissa.
Yeah, so we're happy to submit it to Larissa and have Larissa distribute it around, whether it's electronically or on print form.
Well, again, you talk, she needs a way to determine as to who needs to get that document also. Not just putting it on the website, but she also needs to, we need to make sure that if it's a particular consultant or other consultants or the board members only, or, so there needs to be discussion of some way to communicate how many copies are needed and where they need to go.
So how do we determine that? Because it's a little bit, I think, where things, we might say and send a set to this to one individual and CC the board, but if that set didn't go to the rest of the consultants, we don't know if it's supposed to go to one, it's supposed to go to two, it's supposed to go to everyone, or how do we make those determinations? I think that's where we need a little guidance.
Yeah, I know, it's either, you're almost better off distributing to everybody, just to make sure that it is received by everybody, and putting it on the site, and make sure John Fenton gets it, and Larissa gets a copy, and
So
and that's the only way to guarantee you're not gonna get
what we were thinking of doing was distribute electronic versions to everyone. Distribute always, to have a printed version to Larissa, and then have printed versions for those particular issues that each consultant is reviewing, and to the extent the consultant wants a full print version of anything else, we can always provide it. But at least everybody's getting an electronic version, the town's getting an electronic version, and we're providing print form for those things that are being reviewed by those consultants specifically.
Hey, what's your opinion on that? I mean, is that in order?
I'm actually not really following
You're not,
what the proposal is.
it's tough.
I think that the documents should go in to Larissa, and then Larissa, and in consultation with you, should decide who they need to get distributed to, because there are going to be some consultants that don't need to look at certain documents.
We don't want to make them think that. We want them to review it when
They don't.
you're looking at it, George doesn't need to look at it.
So why don't I just receive everything
Yeah.
from one, and then we'll go over exactly.
Well, I guess what I want to do then is, when you send to Larissa, also send to me, because I want to know that it's being sent, I want to know what's happening, if I'm going to be responsible for making sure who gets it, I need that contact.
The main thing is we need, electronic files are pretty easy. Is the print, those are the ones that we really need to know when it's to go to.
Or how many you need, yeah. But I think it's still going to come down to communication, especially on your end, as to who you folks think also needs it, not just who we want to send it to. Now, you may have a particular reason that you want to send it to George James or Julie, but I'm not going to be queuing in on it. You got to let me know.
Would you be okay just with an electronic file if I receive all the hard copies with an electronic file, so you and I can go back and forth
That's fine,
and
yeah.
see? Okay,
Yeah.
so you don't receive a hard copy. So the town will receive a hard copy for everything.
Yep.
And then we'll deal with who you think you should send it to. And then Norm and I will also discuss exactly what came out of that.
Yeah, I come down often
Okay.
enough anyway, so it's not a big deal to do that.
No, it's fine.
The other thing you may want to mention, and I think you know more about this than I do, Norm, is that I think you've set up a meeting with the Land Conservancy. Now that we have a general sense as to where the open space is going to be on the site and what the general parameters of the conservation easement are going to look like, to have a meeting with them,
Yeah.
to have a further discussion about those issues, and just make sure that they're on the same page as the planning board.
Well, and actually, Mary Ann was setting that up, but I need to, I want to pull out and have just myself, you and Dave at this point, attend that meeting. Keep it fairly simple and, yeah, good. And, you had 2 dates, have you?
Yeah, the 27th, I think.
That's the day we're going with, 27th? Okay. No, yeah, at this point, I just want to keep it, keep it the three of us, and I think, we should be able to, unless there's something that comes out of that meeting that's going to need further review, we can go there if we have to, but I just don't see what should happen.
We toured the 8 board members from the DLC today. We've toured Becky Thornton twice through the site. And I made her aware that there were some comments from the planning board consultants with regards to the easement that they would like to have the DLC review. So we're going to be providing them with the information associated with it as well.
I mean, if anybody else on the planning board wants to attend that meeting, as long as we keep the number down.
And what was the date again, the 27th?
27th. Time?
I was going to talk to you all about time.
Okay.
There was reference to one.
I'm retired, I don't work, yeah, sure, anytime, doesn't matter.
You seem like you're an awfully busy guy, everyone.
We'll be with the Dave.
What did you say, the 27th? Morning, actually. Yeah, the morning would be better.
Okay.
9, 10?
First thing.
Just leave the morning open, okay.
We'll do 9.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Go at 9 a.m. And that'll be where do you want to do it here?
I think here would be fine when we have access to all the documents.
All right.
I think one of the other issues that we're going to need some direction from the planning board on, and not necessarily at this meeting, I don't think you can at this meeting, I just wanted to raise it so you can start thinking about it, is the performance bond that's going to be required and the scope of that, and that's really an issue that I think Julie and I have got to sort of get together on and talk a little bit more about, so we can, maybe provide some direction to you and get some input from Silo on that. But that's something for a future meeting, maybe the next meeting or the following meeting. Okay.
Okay. Anything else from any consultants? Board members?
Good.
All right. I need a motion.
Anyone take any comments or anything?
I don't know. Want to go there? Okay. Any questions from the audience? Steve?
Just say that if you...
Could, Steve, you just go up there, just your name and where you live, please. Thank you.
Steve Benardette, Smithfield Valley Road. If the planning board is going to rely on a site visit, perhaps in lieu of or to supplement enhanced visuals or visual analysis, perhaps that same opportunity should be provided to the public, especially if you're going to be doing that in lieu of requesting enhanced visual analysis. So that's the only comment I would
Give
make.
that consideration. I'm not going to go there right now. I want to just kind of take it. We've got enough going on at the moment to just going to go with this. We'll do our own site visit for now, and we'll give that consideration.
Right. We've actually toured a lot of people in the public. I guess we've offered it to Steve.
Open to the public. I mean,
But-
there should be an announced date, almost like a public meeting. People are invited to come on that day at that time, as opposed to just sort of one-off.
I'm not sure yet. Getting ready to say something?
I just wanted to make the record clear that the site visit is not in lieu of additional visual simulations if you want to ask for them. I mean, there's been a bunch of material that's been, a bunch of comments that have been provided that, talk about the visuals, and you guys got to go through them, and you got to figure out, what, if anything, else you want to see, and address those issues at that time. So just wanted to clarify that for the record.
Yeah?
Have you set a date for the close of the comment period?
No.
So comments can continue to be ongoing and they'll respond to it as they come in? Thank you.
Tony Shumatoff of 232 Old Route 22. I also write for the Millbrook Independent, and I work for the Houstonic Valley Association as watershed manager. I'd like to know if you are going to be reviewing the SWIP that was submitted about a month ago. I haven't heard any discussion or description of it in front of your board. Is it going to be explained by Julie?
I did review the revised SWIP, and my comments on it are included in my most recent memo.
So could we see that recent memo, or could it please be posted on the website? I think it's important.
Yeah, we just got it.
Okay,
Yeah.
so the most recent comments by Julie Mangarillo, the town engineer, would be very helpful.
No, okay, yeah, that's what we're talking about, yeah.
Okay, also David Everett's comments, could those be posted?
Everybody's.
Okay,
Yeah, it's fun.
okay.
It's not a game. You're gonna get, all the comments are going to be there tomorrow, I think, and available for review. Yeah.
Okay, and what about state and county comments? Can we see those as well,
You
please?
can see whatever we've got, yeah.
Those will be posted?
When we get them, but you don't have them.
When we got them, yeah, when we get them. But when we get stuff, you can see it, yes.
Okay. Because I was at a watershed conference, and a member of the county planning said that they'd made comments, and I haven't seen those on the website.
I haven't seen those either. So when you
Okay.
find them, let me know.
Okay,
The comments will probably be put up on Monday. The town is closed tomorrow.
okay. Very good. I think that's, and I agree, I think it's very important for the public to be given a chance to see where the steep slopes are and where the actual houses are going to be. Okay. And so will there be stormwater required to be designed for the houses on the steep slopes before the master plan?
That's being discussed.
Can I clarify something?
Okay.
Well, sure,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Amanda DeCesare, VHB. I'm the applicant's engineer. Just to step back one quick second, the stormwater management plan that's been prepared is for the entire site. There's this misconception that we didn't prepare it for the estate homes. The entire 670 acres, 686 acres is considered in that management plan. Everything is accounted for. What we've tried to explain is that because the homes are custom lots, there will be additional green infrastructure and low-impact design that will be implemented, but the entire site meets the water quality volume. Aside from that, we're meeting the additional requirements that we've been committed to. So there's this misconception that the stormwater management plan does not include the estate homes. It does. All of the disturbance is included in that management plan.
But
So,
if the homeowner wanted to go above and beyond.
absolutely. You can do additional porous pavement, you can do additional rain gardens, green
Right,
roofs,
It's not excluded, but if they want to go above and beyond what
Absolutely.
has been already in place.
and that's what the runoff reduction volume speaks to, that there is additional measures available, and the homeowners association will encourage it. But Julie has reviewed the master development plan SWIP, which is for the entire site.
Right. The master development plan SWIP includes the disturbance and proposed impervious areas within the estate homes. In reviewing the design guidelines for the estate homes, one of the items we're looking into, because it was also included in the previous finding statements, was requiring a minimum amount of green infrastructure based on the New York State standards from the Stormwater Management Design Manual. So working out how that's going to be implemented, because they will have some issues with the steep slopes and the shallow bedrock, so they'll have to work out what will work for each lot. So it's hard to just say, everybody's gonna have a dry well. You know, there's each lot, each house, it's gonna have to be designed. But that's all part of what's being discussed for the individual design guidelines.
But the entire site has been designed to consider impervious surface, and it's maximum impervious surface.
So you know the exacts of
Yes, we have a maximum,
what
we have a
limits are gonna be?
we have maximum, yes, that's what, now what each individual custom lot is designed to cannot exceed the maximums. There are maximum limits already placed on these.
Okay, I have another question. There's been some discussion about whether or not there were going to be individual septics for some of the houses. Is that true? No. No individual septics. Okay. And there's also been discussion about that you're designing only for a 50-year storm, not a 100-year storm. Is that correct?
Yes, absolutely correct. Stormwater management plan has to be designed to mitigate the 100 years.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Elaine Labella, Housatonic Valley Association, 150 Kent Road, Cornwall Bridge. I just would like a clarification on the design guidelines for the estate homes. You mentioned that there was a maximum amount of impervious cover for each home. How does that include the roof? Does it include driveway, walls, whatever, say I wanted to do? How specific are these guidelines?
Extremely. And they're being reviewed by the town consultants and coordinated with the applicant.
Because it still doesn't seem that the total stormwater impact could be evaluated without understanding what each of those homes are going to be. Please do.
That's actually a great question. I think that the focus of the design guidelines will be to ensure that whoever is designing a house complies with the guidelines that they're going to be submitting. However, from an impact component and from a stormwater management component, we're looking to see if each house was built to the maximum allowance within those lots. So let's say, for example, if a house, the maximum floor area of that house would be 5,000 square feet, every house is 5,000 square feet. So when you're looking at impervious surfaces, that's how it gets calculated. To the extent that the design guidelines are looking for pervious surfaces or other items to be included in there, that would ultimately reduce the impacts on the stormwater management prevention plan that we're preparing.
Can I make a follow-up?
Yeah.
Hold on,
And
wait,
of course,
just a second, Clemens, you wanted to say something about that, or?
Yeah, I do, because I think there is, and Elaine, I understand where you're coming from. I think maybe the simplest way to put it is, the current SWIP for the estate homes assumes the very worst build-out scenario, and for the estate homes, large roofs, impervious. And I think the design guidelines, which are a work in progress, are looking to use the natural slopes to make it smaller, to conserve more trees, to respect the drip lines. So I think for the SWIP was designed, as I understand it, it's been explained to me, I've looked at it, for the worst case development scenario. And what we're working now is going backward to try to further reduce it within the context of the SWIP by using LID, by using the landscape, the hillside, by reducing tree loss, by trying to create designs that actually respect the topography, as opposed to the SWIP with the design on big houses, big roofs, stuck on the landscape.
who's going to enforce these?
The design guidelines are being enforced by the town engineer will enforce them, and also when there are the ecological aspects, the town's environmental consultant will enforce them.
So as each house is built, is it going to have to file an application with the planning board?
You're getting into questions on stuff we're actually developing right now, you have design
Okay.
guidelines and so forth. In fairness to the applicant, I've read the independent, in fairness to that paper, the presentation they give with what's being designed there as far as stormwater management, they make it sound like there's been no thought given to it. This stuff has been kicked around so much from one end to the other by the engineers, by the consultants, by the planning board members. A lot of thought being given to it. I suggest that people that want to comment on it, read it and get to better understand it themselves before they make those comments and find out what's actually there. There's been a lot of work put into those documents.
We did go through it very carefully, and we look forward,
A lot of the questions that you're asking, the answers are in there.
or they'll be coming as the design guidelines are created.
On some of the more, I don't want to say minor, but some of the things that need to be developed toward the end of the process, yes. But the major components, and a lot of things that have been negatively commented on, have been in there.
Well,
I don't agree with you on that.
well, we'll look forward to seeing the new information as it comes in. Thank you.
Very good.
I think it would be really helpful and important that you review the SWIP, because you're required to take the hard look. And you have not actually publicly reviewed the SWIP in front of your board or in front of the public. So nobody knows who can't read the 460 pages, what is in that document. You should have your consultant, Julie, go through it in front of your board. That's what's required by seeker.
I've reviewed it on behalf of the board, and I've submitted my comments to the board. If they really want me to give a summary of what's in it, but they go through what's required based on the general permit, what's required in the stormwater design manual. I've made some comments. They're going to work to address those. I mean, if the planning board members have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
We need to see those comments. We haven't heard them, nobody knows what they are.
They'll be posted.
All the comments that have been made have been posted, and you do know what they are. If the questions aren't there in the document, they haven't been asked. Maybe because we trust the engineer that's doing this review for us, and we take what she's given us and say, okay, we understand as much as we can. We don't understand all these documents completely. They're way beyond my level of ability to understand.
That's why they're here for.
I take what Julie says, and I work with her to make it understood as much as possible, and we go forward with that.
Julie, how many times have you reviewed the SWIP? Twice, 3 times?
Now, this is my third go-around.
Third go-around.
But not publicly in front of the board.
Well, I don't think that she's supposed to do it publicly in front of the board. That's not the way it works, Tom. That's the way you'd like it. That's not the way it works.
I mean, we submit written comments, and we give them to the board, and then the board asks us questions or follow-up. And all of our written comments will be posted online, I understand, on Monday. And hopefully your questions will be answered there.
But it is required by seeker that all the water be infiltrated, and there are houses south of the site in Wasaic, and there are residents who are very concerned because we've had 200-year floods that left our hamlet where I live underwater. So this is an issue you're required to protect our town.
And I can assure you it's being looked at real hard, and it will provide all the protection we possibly can. That's just as important to me as it is to you, believe me.
Good, I'm glad to hear that.
And I think the rest of the board members too.
And as a resident of Wassaic, I agree with you 100%, Johnny, and we are doing these things. It's not like this is the first time we've heard of it. Oh my God, we got to hurry up and start looking at this. This has been going on forever. I mean, like Norm said, for us as, as laymen looking through all this stuff, and I know speaking for myself, I do my best to go through as much of this stuff as possible. But that's why I have them here for. So if I go through it, I have a question, they're breaking it down for us. They're the experts. I'm not the expert. I look a lot of this stuff and I kind of shake my head, but that's what they're here for. They're here they're looking out for us, and these are very competent, qualified people, and I trust them 100%.
Okay, one last thing. I hate to say this, but the Hannaford application, which we also were part of, they spent in front, and Michael Clements was there. Rich Renia spent over maybe 2 months going through the SWIP and explaining it to the public. So I have not heard any explanation of this SWIP.
It didn't help them any, did it?
What?
It didn't help them any.
Well, okay, so it should be described in more detail.
Tanya, to compare this project that has been so thoughtfully worked on for so many years with that mess in Northeast at Hannaford's is unfair. I mean, there was so much effort has been put into this, and I've been involved in this thing in Northeast, with the whole issue. I mean, the short shrift that board gave to these issues compared to the time here, I just find the comparison just sets me off. I'm sorry. I mean, you can talk about the SWIP, but please don't compare Hannaford's with the process that's gone on here, because it's completely different.
Okay, all I'm saying is that the public
Could you
needs
please
to know.
use the microphone?
Or-
One member of the media to the other.
I just want to say that it is important for the public to know what is in that SWIP, because it is impossible for them to read it. It needs to be explained to them. Even the comments from Julie are ununderstandable. There needs to be someone who explains it, and that is very important.
Thank you,
That's all I
Sonia.
have
Can
to
I just say something about that? Maybe that finds something of reconciliation between what appear to be two positions. So what Peter's saying is that, Julie's looking for certain things, and what she has identified as conforming to the general permit and the stormwater design manual, among other things. But there may be considerations that members of the public have, questions that are not immediately addressed in ways that we understand, even if they are addressed. So for them to be able to question Julie about how they're addressed, to me, is a valuable thing. It's valuable.
Yeah, so by the way, we've offered and we've done several presentations to different groups with regards to how the stormwater works, and we're happy to try to host something like this. One of the things that we were looking into is there were some comments that were brought up with regards to pesticide management and golf course management, and in research some of these things, we found some great presentations done by Cornell University and so forth, by Audubon International, showcasing some of the things they've been able to achieve. So, and so ultimately being part of the SWIP. So we can definitely, if the public want it, we can have folks like them come and do a presentation, or if we can get Julie or some of the consultants also too. I think Dr. Clemens being extremely involved in some of these aspects, but I don't know from a procedure standpoint of view whether that will help the public, not help the public. What's the
I don't think it's
process?
going to hurt the public, to educate. I don't know how much of it they would be able to understand if Julie were to present it. I mean, it's a massive project. I mean, if Julie's comfortable doing it, are you comfortable doing some presentation of that for him?
We've presented it 4 times, unfortunately.
I don't have a problem. Or Amanda?
I'm happy to do a presentation. It's my design, it's not Julie's design.
Very good.
And Julie can absolutely sit there and comment to it or clarify anything that helps, but it's my design. And I've only been given 5 minutes to talk about it at a public hearing. I can go through to nauseam about it. I'm happy to. We just haven't been asked to. And any question that has come up, I mean, Julie and I have been working for over a year now, collaborating on the most important thing we know is, one of them is the SWIP. It's not taken lightly. We are going above and beyond the standards. You know, the required is 33, we're at 39. I mean, you're talking about acre feet, you're not talking about square feet. So the project is going above and beyond, and we're looking at it, and there's going to be more improvements as it goes on, and we're happy to talk about them.
Yeah, and there's also some assumptions, I think, made by people that when people talk about meeting certain standards, whether it's east of Hudson or whatever else, that, you know, there's some level of understanding as to how much oversight's being provided to meet those standards. So, well, an education of the process help, I think should be done. Why not? I don't know how much you're going to...
That would be great.
What's that?
That would be really great.
Yeah, we can schedule a presentation, no problem.
You want to do it for the next meeting, or?
Yeah, we can do it the next meeting. That's 2 Thursdays from now, right?
I think that would be really great because Cricket Valley had Arcadis, and then they had 3 public meetings with 200 people at each meeting, citizens advisory meetings for the big power plant. And they explained everything to everybody, and everybody could ask questions. I think it would be very useful.
We could have a planning board that consisted of 60 people, and we all get educated every time there's something to be brought up. I mean, the reality is, you've got a board, you've got to put some trust in.
But wait, one thing that I think, and I welcome, we host a presentation once a month. And the reason why we've been hosting presentations once a month in smaller groups is it allows us to have dialogues as we're going through these presentations, and everybody's more than welcome to come, and we've offered this many times. So if people want to come, please contact us, and we'll let you know when those presentations are. Additionally,
I've never been invited to any of those meetings.
you can contact us. You actually participated in one, so you can contact us anytime you want.
I found out at the last minute with the 4 brothers. I'd love to be on the mailing list.
That would be good. We'll make sure to include you. With regards to, I think, we've offered the service to also televise every single meeting, because there's a lot of individuals and homeowners in Amenia who cannot attend these meetings, so we're televising all of the meetings, and that we've done this since the beginning of this process last year in September, and we believe in letting the people know that what's happening and what was being discussed.
And again, in fairness to the applicant, I think your paper was more objective. And for its presentation, you might get invited to more meetings. That's me talking. That's not the applicant. So that's my opinion on that.
The one I attended, I wrote a very positive story about. So I disagree with that. When I attended that meeting, I wrote a very positive story about it. So.
All right. Any other comments from anybody, or in the audience? No? Okay. Need a motion?
No, wait, we need to approve
Oh,
the
for the
minutes.
minutes? Yeah, sorry.
And also, I have a quick question. I went through this on email with everybody. Everybody knows this is part of the submission from August. Can you please just check if the chapters are missing 4, 5, and 6? I did email, but nobody's gotten back to me. Let me know if you want a revised version of it. And 918 minutes, both were public hearing for Silo, and the other one was the Tamarack and DeGrazia lot line public hearing. Everyone got emailed the minutes.
Yes.
I need a motion to accept them.
I'll make that motion to accept those minutes.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 And Tamarack public hearing's going to be on the 6th, right?
November 6th.
November 6th.
Yes.
Norm, you're going to be posting my comment memo, and one of the comments was that we thought there was part of the hard copies missing in the town, and I think Larissa subsequently did find them.
We have everything.
Right, so just so if someone in the public see, that's part of that.
That comment, yeah.
Well, it's the 2 letters, earlier letters, it was on the MDP comparison and the site plan comparison, and I had a comment that maybe we didn't have everything, and subsequently Larissa did find the second roll of plans had been submitted and was in the town hall. Just to be very clear about that.
Yeah, Juan just told me that one of the things we've been doing is every single submittal has a transmittal letter.
Right.
So, but I was just, Jeannie Reveler just let me know that next Wednesday there's a 5:30. There's a presentation at our office.
Where is it?
At our office.
What time?
5:30.
Anything else, Larissa? Or-
No, that's it.
Okay, and we're set for Tuesday at 3:30, right? For a site visit?
Yes,
Okay. I'll have to make sure,
at the Fallow office.
I'll send everybody a
Meet up
reminder
there.
email. Okay.
okay. The Miller House?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
Well, it's better to meet there, Pedro, or down at the maintenance building, or the, maintenance shed, the office?
Probably better maintenance or office?
Well, we're gonna start, why don't we start at the office, that way you can do the, Artisan Park, the view shed,
Yeah,
we'll start with that and work our way down, I guess, right?
perfect.
Okay.
All right, need a motion.
I'll make the motion to close the meeting.
A second?
All in favor?
Aye.